Music, fancy graphics. You know why? I'm on the road. Oh, I do have music. We have both a producer today, producer Daniel in the house, and we've got a DJ. DJ Megan's hanging out back there and bringing us some fancy music. Well, everyone, welcome to Cloud Talk Live. Even though I don't have the fancy lower third, even though we don't have some of the graphics, hey, we still have the same routine, and you know what to do. I'd love for you to introduce yourself. I'm so glad that you're here. So down in the comments of whatever platform you're watching us on, we're on the YouTubes, we're on the LinkedIn's. Introduce yourself. Tell me who you are. Tell me where in the world you are. I'll tell you who I am. I'm Jeff DeVerter. I'm the Chief Technology Evangelist here at Rackspace Technology, and I'm coming to you live from Nashville, Tennessee. Can you believe it? I'm up here for a big partner event that I get to be a part of, and that's been great to see some old friends. I got to see my son. You remember Benjamin? He's going to school up here, so we had a great dinner last night. Went to see some live music, Western Swing, my favorite of all kinds. And it's been a great time. So if you want to get a hold of us here at Cloud Talk Live and the program, hey, Umesh, glad you're here. Just shoot us an email, and that's solve@rackspace.com. Oh, look, we got fancy new graphics for all the folks. Now, so this program is going to be a little bit different. So, normally I'm going to bring up a guest. We're going to have an amazing conversation. We are, hey, Mia from Austin. And we have a great guest. Then we would get into some what's new in the news, what's going on in release from the cloud providers. Of course, all of that supported by the great graphics. We're not going to do any of that fun stuff today, or at least that other stuff. We're just kind of a great conversation. Now, if you've been hanging out around these parts for a while, you'll know that the first Tuesday of every month is devoted to Women in Tech. It's our Women in Tech Tuesday. And holy moly, do I have a great guest for you today. Miss Shannon Enix is here. She has been here at Rackspace for a good long while, and she works, interestingly enough, helping us in our cybersecurity team. And you know what this is the first episode of is U.S. National Cybersecurity Awareness Month. That's right. National Cybersecurity Awareness Month. I think we have a fancy graphic we may show at some point. I think Daniel will throw that up there. But instead of me yammering on all by myself in my fun hotel room, that's right. See yourself in cyber. You know who I see in cyber is Shannon Enix. Shannon, welcome to the program.
Hi, Jeff. Good morning.
Hey, I'm so glad that you're here. It took a little cajoling to get you to step in front of the microphone instead of encouraging others to do that. But thank you so much for being here.
Yes, and thank you for having me during National Cybersecurity Awareness Month. I was trying to explain to my family and friends what this month meant, and I said that it's basically like the Super Bowl, but for an entire month for everybody in cybersecurity. So, yes, I'm very happy to be here.
So it's a good way to say it. Now, you bring up an interesting comment. I mentioned that it took a little bit of encouragement to get you to come out here with us in front of the lights. And you talked to your family about it as well. And your brothers had some really solid advice for you, if I remember the story correctly.
Oh, yes. One of my brothers told me to wear a black turtleneck and speak in my Elizabeth Holmes voice as a joke. But I told him that you would never ask me to be on the program again if I did that. So I'm in my normal attire.
Oh, I'm so glad that you're here. Now, how long have you been with us here at Rackspace?
Yes, I've been at Rackspace for 7 years now. It doesn't feel like 7 years. Time has flown, but it's been a really great journey. I've stayed here so long because I just love the people, and I also love the ability at Rackspace to really change your focus. You can always have a different role and focus on a different part of the cloud that can be interesting to you.
Yeah, and even if you're staying in the same role, the cloud and technology is moving at such a blistering pace that what you were doing last year is going to be totally different this year, even if you stuck in the same technology.
Absolutely,
Hey, what was your
absolutely.
first role at Rackspace when you came over?
Oh, goodness. Well, I was a product marketing manager, but I was focusing on our managed hosting, private
Mm,
cloud, and network security business. I think my
got it.
first project was um, launching our DDoS mission service with the good old Rob Jackson. It was my first project. It was so fun meeting, I believe he's a 19-year racker, and getting
Yeah.
the lay of the land from him. So then after that, I was able to continue to work on other areas of the business, like our public clouds, AWS, Azure, GCP. And then I've really morphed into the cybersecurity role here. And that's been my focus, I believe, for the last 3 years at Rackspace.
That is fantastic. And you've got some supporters here who've shown up, one being your boss. I see Gary's knocking around in here.
Hi, Gary. No
Hey,
funny
so
comments, Gary.
yeah. So what are you doing for us today in and around the cybersecurity? What does the day in the life of Shannon look like?
Yeah, so I'm a senior product marketing manager here at Rackspace. And what I explain to people, what I do, it's basically being a translator between the technical folks and the regular business leaders that you might be marketing to. So it's really translating features and functionality and
Mhm.
technical jargon into something that really creates a purpose for and solves a problem for your customer. As a product marketing manager, you do need to be technical, but you also
Yeah.
need to be creative, and you also have to be really close with your customers' use cases so you can speak to them in a way that makes sense.
It's really interesting because, I think a lot of people think about a career in technology or even like with you in cybersecurity, and it can be very intimidating. I think that's the perfect word for it is intimidating. And I love the way you just described that. While you do need to have an element of being technical, you got to be able to understand the propeller heads in the room. Sorry if I offend anyone. And but it is what it is. But you also bring in this element of creativity, which I've witnessed in your work, of course, over and over. And that's not just, hey, how can I design a print piece or a digital piece that looks fantastic, but it's creativity in the way that what's the right channel to communicate on, what's the right words to use, what is the right audience to go talk about. And now here you are at the beginning of National Cybersecurity Awareness Month, and you're getting to do the same thing, even though the focus is a little more turned in on you, but you get to do that as well.
Yes, definitely. That's what I like to explain what a product marketing manager does to people who aren't sure. So it really allows you to have best of both worlds in the technology and creativity space.
Yeah. Hey, so I want to just call out to who is it there? Bhupal, welcome. Glad that you are here. Delivery head for Walgreens. That's fantastic. And I love that Mary Stitch is here as well. So Mary, welcome. She's a longtime racker, now helping other folks, and really deep in the women in tech movement. So Shannon, you didn't start your career here. In fact, you didn't necessarily even start your career deep in cyber. Didn't start it deep in tech. Let's go back to the beginning. What was your first big role?
Yeah, I actually started my technology career at Microsoft in Seattle. And let me give you a lay of the land here. This was during the Steve Ballmer era, and also during the search wars. So we were having the search engine wars at that time, where Microsoft, we actually launched the Bing search engine, and we were trying to steal away market share from Google and Yahoo at the time. Yahoo was still a thing. I believe AOL search was still a thing, and
Oh,
Ask.com. I know they were on the market leaders list at that time. And so it was a very exciting time at Microsoft. I was in the Microsoft advertising division, and I was doing product management and product marketing on developing all of the new features that went into our advertising platform to make our advertising platform more compelling to advertisers,
mm,
allowing you to get the right data and target the right customer at the right time with the right ad. So I was definitely in like a 180 from where I am today. Um, in doing this role, I noticed that I was starting to be more interested in what we were doing with the data that we got from our consumers and how we were securing it and how we were delivering a secure shopping cart experience for our consumers as well.
yeah.
And then how are we maintaining compliance for our advertisers through the whole process? And that's when I started to realize I really was interested in cybersecurity and compliance. And I made a really big pivot in my career after 6 years at Microsoft.
That's really interesting. I love the fact that you came in, you found a good role. Now, what a tumultuous time in technology to jump in, and I don't know if everybody remembers what those search engine wars were like. Interesting. Anybody here still use Bing? I got to tell you, I like it. I prefer the answers.
Do you see my Bing award is right back there?
Look at you. I love that.
But don't ask me which one I use. No, I'm kidding.
We'll just say you got a great award, and that's awesome. So you
Yeah.
you thought, hey, cyber was interesting. I love the fact you also talk about compliance because compliance and cybersecurity
Mm.
are two things that tend to two words that tend to or phrases that go together quite often. And in your education, you've got a little bit of background to help you deal with the compliance side of things from your education, correct?
Yes, I actually have a degree in pre-law, which has become so helpful in my role as a product marketing manager. I'm a huge nerd for PCI compliance. I actually built reference architectures for cloud PCI compliant workloads when I was working at F5 Networks. So that is the job I took after
Okay.
Microsoft. I took a job at F5 Networks, also in Seattle, and I really just got to dive into everything security. I really got to learn the full technology stack, the different levels and layers of security that you need at every layer in your technology stack, and how, of course, like you said, that evolves day to day, what
Yeah.
different security measures you might need. And then, of course, for PCI compliance, I believe like maybe every 6 months when they release a new version, you also have to update. So, yeah, I'm a big nerd when it comes to compliance.
I'm glad there are people like you in the world because it's one of those things that I would just rather never think about at all. Because I can always count on the fact that there's a Shannon somewhere who will take care of that stuff.
Yes.
So how long were you over at F5? A big partner of Rackspace at the time as well.
Yeah, I was at F5 Networks for 3 years.
Okay.
I actually helped them launch their cloud services in the AWS and Azure marketplaces. I also helped them launch their first SaaS service, which was a WAF and DDoS cloud delivered service for their customers. And I believe it's still doing really well
Mm,
because I still hear about it in the news. And actually, at F5 is how I learned about Rackspace.
okay.
F5 was a big partner of Rackspace at the time. And here's another pivot in my career. This one is a geographical pivot. I was in Seattle for so long that I was like, I could use for some sun. And I
I
knew,
wonder what that sun actually looks like.
yeah, yes. And I knew Rackspace was in San Antonio, Texas. And I just cold applied without any referral or knowing anyone at Rackspace. And 7 years ago, and the rest is history, I've been at Rackspace.
That's amazing. So one question I like to ask, and I think I'm going to know the answer from the Microsoft side, but what was, if you had one main learning at Microsoft, one big epiphany that you, as you look back at it now in the rearview mirror, what would you say that is?
And Microsoft is such a large company that
Yeah.
a lot of times you're given a role that you need to fulfill, but you also have a lot of area there to grow and
Mm,
stretch your boundaries and take on pet projects and step outside of
mm,
the bounds of your role and learn more. And that's what I was able to do there with
right,
the acceptance of my manager at the time, who was wonderful, and another female as well.
nice.
So definitely, even at big companies, being able to stretch your areas of influence and take on other projects outside of your role can really help you find an area you might be focused in for your next step in your career.
I love it. Now same question though, as you go over to F5 where you spent 3 years.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. At F5, it's an amazing company. They kind of let me do whatever I wanted there. It was an
I
incredible
feel that way about
opportunity.
Rackspace a lot of times.
Yeah, yes, it's a very same culture. I said I wanted to do security, and they threw me right in there. I had a wonderful, not official mentor, but a wonderful unofficial mentor, Shantanez, if
Mm.
she's listening, who taught me a lot about security while I was there. So really fed my need to learn security there.
I love it. Now, I want to pick up on the mentorship a comment that you just made, but Michael Hernandez in there, we just saw his comment come across the screen. Says he's trying to pivot into the IT career. Now, we don't know anything about Sean, but do you have any advice for Sean?
Definitely. you can take a lot of different certification courses online that'll help beef up your resume to allow you to appear more serious for the recruiting engines. Recruiters are using computer generated engines to pick up specific keywords in your resume. So definitely try to take some online courses, get some certifications. AWS has some great ones that you can
And they're
do.
free.
Um, yeah, absolutely. And LinkedIn even has some free ones as well.
They do.
So definitely try to get your training, get some certifications, have those keywords on your resume. And then just be curious. Know where you're interested in learning and be curious. And your skills can translate, even if you're in a different industry, different skills can still translate into a technology career.
That's great advice. Now we're going to move into your more of your time here at Rackspace, where you really did double down into the security world. But Mary, of course, asks a great question, and she says, when making a change in your career, is there one thing that you had to overcome? Sometimes pivots come with fear. Did you have to overcome any fear?
Oh yeah, it was definitely a scary feeling when I did go to F5 Networks. I felt like I may have been starting from ground zero.
Hmm.
But really, like I said, the technology skills that I learned at Microsoft translated very well into the cloud and cybersecurity space over at F5 Networks. So it seemed daunting at first, but once I got there, it really wasn't scary at all. Also, I think the biggest hurdle, Mary, was probably other people's opinions. A lot of people that were working with me in the advertising space may have
Mm,
thought I was crazy. They were like, "What are you doing? You know, you're doing that now? Why? Why would you do that?"
right.
So that was probably the biggest hurdle.
That's really interesting that the biggest hurdle, and I can totally relate to that, is other
Yeah,
people's opinions that they had formed of you, and now you were going to step
yeah,
outside of that and go be the person you wanted to be in the career you wanted to have.
absolutely. Or maybe their own fear of not wanting to make a pivot and and
Oh,
was shocked that I was making a pivot. And I'm like, anyone can do this. Uh, your career, I mean, how long are we working in the workforce, Jeff? 40, 50
a
years
long
before,
time.
right? So there needs to be some pivots in your career. Otherwise, you're just going to get bored.
Yeah, yeah. A little bit of healthy fear is a good thing, but not paralyzing fear.
Yeah,
All right, let's go back. Let's jump into Rackspace, where you spent the past 7 years. You already mentioned some of your first role when you got here, but let's dig in more into the detail, as this is National Cybersecurity Awareness Month, and the theme for it this year is "See Yourself in Cyber," something that you did many years ago and said, "Cyber, it's for me." And so let's talk about the role that you have today. Let's talk about how you're helping to fight the fight against the bad guys. Peel back a little bit of the onion of the day to day.
absolutely. So for National Cybersecurity Awareness Month, it's really important to me personally because this gives me a time where I have ability to talk about my portfolio all across the company,
Mm,
even to internal rackers and then externally to other folks like you all in this forum. We really want everyone to know that even if you aren't in a security role, that you have an important responsibility in security, not only for the company that you work for, but also for your customers and your coworkers as well. A lot of the key messages in National Cybersecurity Awareness Month are around reminding people about what phishing is and how to not become a victim, an antivirus, and other things like the spear phishing and other social attacks that can happen as well. It's just kind of a reminder to everyone, whether you're in a security role or not, how to be able to protect your own company's IP and networks. And then also, oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, and so often, these big breaches that happen aren't happening because, somebody came in with a bulldozer of a fancy tool to power through, whatever defenses were there. They dangled a little carrot in front of a well-meaning employee who unfortunately took a bite.
Yes, and social engineering tactics are becoming more popular now, especially when somebody may reach out to you on a specific platform, want to get to know you, may want to get the names of your coworkers or
Yeah.
learn more about their role or ask if you might be at a conference coming up, figure out where your location might be. So there's things like that people need to be aware of where cyber attacks have really evolved to become more personal and more pointed to specific people that they want to get information from or access to.
Right. That's wow. It's what a great point you're making there. So, all right. So, see yourself in cyber. It's the importance of everybody being vigilant. It's the importance of it's not just the professionals, And we had somebody on last week, and we were talking about it was from over at our friends at App Dynamics, but we were talking about the fact that there is no little league in cybersecurity. It's the big guns all the time.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
It could be a stressful area to be in if you really want to think about all the attacks happening right now. You could stress yourself out,
Yeah.
but it's all in the day of the life of a cybersecurity person. It's about learning and evolving.
Well, and isn't that also so very true of your own career? As we think about how we evolve and dealing with the different cybersecurity attacks that are out there, how we evolve as individuals, as we evolve as in and around our careers. So we're getting close to the end of our time. We're on the road. I'm not doing the normal things. We're going a little longer with the chat, which is always so much more fun. Mary again, so insightful. Mary, you're going to be the next guest, by the way. Just prepare yourself. She's talking about gender diversity in tech, and it is no surprise that this tends to be a very male-dominated industry. But one thing that I've found is that cybersecurity seems to be a microcosm of that, taking it to even another level. Has that been your experience?
Yes, actually, when it comes to diversity with females in the workforce, I would say Rackspace has a higher percentage of females than
Mhm.
other companies that I've worked for, which has been really wonderful. I think there's a lot of diversity at Rackspace, which I enjoy. And I don't usually do the formal mentor programs, but
Yeah.
it's really easy to gravitate towards other women in your company that you get along with, you have a rapport with, and maybe there's another woman that is higher up in her career than you that you just really get along with and you want to get advice from. I think
Mhm.
that's always something good to do. And then also, as younger women come into work at your company, I think it's really good for us to remember to be a good steward for them as well and remember what it was like for us when we first started in tech and make sure we're doing that example to the younger women coming in. It's like pay it forward.
All right. If it wouldn't mess up our recording, I'd tell you to pick up your mic and drop it because that was a mic drop kind of a moment. Thank you so much for that. So I
Thank
always
you.
ask the first question when I do the Women in Tech episodes, but I get comments all the time where moms and dads working are watching this and they say I'm going to take this home and I'm going to show it to my 12-year-old daughters. So what advice would you have either for, and I'll phrase it in two ways, would you have for that young teen who is thinking about what their careers are going to be, or at least starting to think about that, and maybe think about it through the lens of what advice do you have for 12-year-old Shannon?
Yeah. Well, maybe not for myself because that ship has sailed, but for others, I would definitely say if you haven't learned a musical instrument, do. It'll help develop a part of your brain that will really help you later in your STEM areas of study. And a musical instrument where you actually learn how to read sheet music is key. As you get older, just know that you don't have to have your career all figured out and all planned out. The most important thing is that you get your education. And while you're getting your education, learn what areas of study that you're most interested in, that you have the most skills in, that you enjoy the most, and focus on those areas because that might translate to where you might have a fulfilling career later in life.
Hmm.
And then also, while you're getting your education, I strongly believe having multiple internships. Instead of sitting by the pool every summer break, have an internship at each summer and try to get one in different fields of study. That'll allow you to see different areas. I had one in IT, I had one at an oil company, I even had one at a record label in Los Angeles. So I had a variety. See what's out there. That's what getting an education is about. It's not just about book studies, but it's also getting out there and having experiences that you can learn from. And if you have the means, my last one, if you have the means, try to study abroad while you're in college. It'll give you a really great global perspective before the responsibilities of adulthood set in. And always don't be afraid to pivot. If you wanted to, be a certain thing when you were 12, you don't have to stick with that. You can change your mind along the way and evolve what you're interested and what you want to be when you grow up.
Ooh, I think there's a whole nother episode on all of the points that you just made there in the sum up. Shannon, this has been fantastic, and I so appreciate you taking the time, one, to be with us. Thank you for all that you're doing for us here at Rackspace. Thank you for being the role model that you are in the role that you are, and the advice that you've had today. So thank you so much for being a part of the program.
Thank you.
All right, everybody. I hope that you enjoyed this as much as I have. I learned so much. I had no idea that Shannon was musical. It's a whole nother conversation to have there, and so I think her advice on learning a musical instrument, it does develop that a part of the brain that is just amazing. So. And will impact every other part. Well, folks, we are back, of course, next Tuesday, and all of our guests this month will be cybersecurity themed, and so you can expect to hear nothing but cybersecurity awareness through this whole month of National Cybersecurity Awareness Month. And we are going to end this month with a cybersecurity summit. So you can look forward to that. I think it's on October 25th, if my memory holds true. Whatever the last Tuesday of the month is. Yes, 25th. Thank you, Megan. Megan, the DJ. And so that is going to be an hour-long program. We have some incredible guests. You can start to watch for that event to be published on LinkedIn, and make sure that you set your alarm for that one, set a timer for it, set an event, and make sure that you are sharing it with everyone. We are going to have people, cybersecurity experts from Rackspace, of course, from other parts of the industry, some of our partners, as well as iHeartMedia is going to be there as well, their CISO. So that's going to be an incredible event. So set your alarms for that. Everyone, I hope you have an amazing rest of your day. I'm here in Nashville, Tennessee for the rest of the day. Back to Texas tomorrow. Everyone, hope you have a great day. I'll see you next Tuesday on our next episode of Cloud Talk Live.